Perfect. So this is an impromptu panel. I'm going to ask Eden here, who has tons of charisma and can get out of anything, basically, a couple of hard questions about VCs. Questions I'm sure you startup founders would love to ask a VC, but sometimes it's a bit hard to ask those tough questions from the guys that you want to get funded by. Oh, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Oh, that's better.
Besides you, I'm the minority representative of the day.
Fantastic.
I think I'm the only investor woman that was here.
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe there are a few
that
more.
That came here.
And possibly we could also address that question of diversity in the financial industry in general. But let me start with a quick question to the both of you. And why don't you take it first, and then Eden, you provide the second part of the question. Here's something that I think a lot of startups would like to know. Why is it so hard to get clarity and focus about what the VCs are actually interested in investing in from the venture capital's website, for example? I know a lot of firms do not point out clear fields and clear goals in the companies that they're looking at because they don't want to block out other maybe areas of opportunities or other industries. But that really keeps the startups in the dark with regards to what exactly they're looking for and what exactly would the VC invest in. And events like this, like what we had today, are a great opportunity for you guys to come out and say, we're looking for X, Y, Z, and be very clear about it. And I think you've done a lot of that today, but still it's a bit of a problem. So I would like you to answer that, please.
First of all, I'm not representing any VC. As I said, we are a group of friends that are corporated.
If you hold the mic closer,
and angels. We are really open to the range is different. It's like my husband is a lawyer, so when they asked me what he's doing, I said it's easier to say what's not. He's not in criminal and marriage. So, and all the rest is would like to have them as customer. So in
they're not investing in.
Like for us, we are not. If you ask me, I will say we invest as angels. This is very typical to angels. You invest in something close to what you know and what you contribute or can contribute, because part of it is being part of the company and doing be part of the scene. So for us, it's very clear. We are not doing bio. We are not doing medical devices. We are not doing clean tech. I don't know if it's said or not in the in our site, but many that approach me, even if they are in clean tech, or I think we have here one of you that are really not in what we do, but the fact that they are meeting us, we are all kind of super connector, and we can always give them some advice. So I don't know if it's the best usage of their time, but it's some kind of an answer.
I definitely think we could suggest VCs to put up on the websites a category of what we do not invest in. That's definitely going to make life easier for people, and if I could have that. And then how do you feel about that? Because you were quite clear about the stuff that you do and how different you are as a VC. But how easy it is when startup founders approach you and they're going to pitch something out of left field, it's completely not within your field, but they have no idea they're pitching you something that's really not in your space or really not what you're focused in. So how can you provide more clarity and more focus as to what you guys are interested in? And if there's any advice that you can suggest to other investors to do that as well.
Can you hear? Is this working?
Why don't you grab this one?
I think the best advice that I can suggest in practice is answer to emails. That would be my suggestion to investors is from the other hat of raising capital multiple times, right? So I'm extremely responsive, so I can tell you exactly what we don't do.
Okay.
I do that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I do that pretty much immediately. The one thing you need to understand about venture capital versus angels, it's a high beta business, meaning we build portfolios, you don't build portfolios, you work in a single company, right? So, but when we look and decide whether to invest in a company or not is whether this company can build the big products that they have, and we'll do multiple investments, sometimes even in a single field, as long as they're not competitive. But the very base thing, I meet daily with about 5 different companies. I screen about, because we don't have associates, principals, etc., I screen about 80 executive summaries before I do those 5 meetings, right? I will not invite you in if I don't believe there is a good chance that we'll invest, right? That's the most important thing, and in respecting your time.
Thank you, Eden. So now I'd like to ask Ofer and, Aviad from Summer. Could you talk maybe a little bit about how the companies in your portfolio, because you have a lot of companies, and you, I know, Ofer, at Weil, you have several companies in the cybersecurity industry, of which I'm a native of, if you will. So what kind of advice can you give to entrepreneurs and founders within your portfolio and here in the room about standing out in a very, busy and complicated market, especially the cybersecurity industry that I can attest to? In recent years, we've seen 20 or 30 different companies kind of all doing the same type of advanced threat detection, etc. So how can a startup in a new field or a buzzword field really stand out? And Eden, if you could, thank you. And you'll get the mic soon.
I think I have maybe a general advice to Israeli entrepreneurs. We at Wild Ventures, as I said earlier, we're very focused on companies with unique technology. So most of our entrepreneurs in our portfolio and most of the entrepreneurs that we meet are highly technological geeks in Israel. And with this type of people, usually their state of mind is that technology is everything that matters. If they develop a unique technology in whatever field, let's say in cybersecurity, so a lot of entrepreneurs think that if you have a unique technology, that your technology will stand out against competitors, and you're ultimately going to win.
Yeah. That's not true.
And
we all know that.
That's not true. That's actually not true. And we see it in our portfolio. We see it in different companies that stuff like having the right messaging and right marketing skills, usually that's something that Israeli entrepreneurs are lacking or are in disadvantage if you compare them to US entrepreneurs. Usually the Israeli entrepreneurs tend to focus on the technology. They think that marketing is something for other people to do for them and that the product sells itself, but that's actually wrong. Yeah. And so this is my advice to Israeli entrepreneurs. You have to focus on the right messaging, do a good marketing plan. Go-to-market strategy is extremely important, even if you supposedly have the best technology in the market.
That's good advice. So alongside innovative technologies, don't forget the product positioning, the market research, the marketing messages, and telling your story, but in a compelling way.
Exactly.
And with that, Ofer, thank you so much. I'd like to move on to one maybe last question. For you, Aviad, if you could take the mic. So this is a tough one. Get ready. Brace yourself. Something I'm sure a lot of founders ask themselves. Before you meet a startup, how much intelligence takes place? How much intelligence gathering? I'm not talking about intelligence in the sense of IQ, but does it go with is it a Google search, or do you ask people around? Before you even meet with someone, how much would you consider looking into that person? And is that something that entrepreneurs should be thinking about when they approach you or other VCs?
It depends.
Please answer truthfully.
No. I mean, we have very little time to put a lot of time in advance, right? So if I have some time before the meeting, of course I'm gonna spend some time. I'm trying to review the materials I got. So good presentation is always helpful.
Yeah.
There's some experience comes to it. If you met a lot of in the security, so yeah, you met 50 companies, it comes to the meeting as well. You don't spend a lot of time in advance, at least in my case, preparing for this meeting. It's not scalable. Meeting 5 companies a day, you can't really
do a lot of the
getting
research.
to this level of intelligence.
So you do rely upon, to a great extent, to what the entrepreneurs actually present themselves.
Exactly,
at the event.
and that's the point of Ofer. I couldn't agree more with what he said. Technology, I've seen probably a handful of companies that technology really matters. In the rest, it's not about technology. So, and in Israel, it's rarely that technology is the reason not to invest. So, we have to move on to the business, to the go-to-market. I think what really helps is educating me. Tell me about the market, show me that you know it, the competitors, what's the difference. And, just saying the product is better, it's not going to win us. And
the funny thing is that customers saying the same thing. So if you can't convince me, you probably can't convince your customers.
That's true, Aviad. Actually, I tend to agree. So more focus on the intelligence gathering on the side of the entrepreneurs. And they have to do a lot of that work and talk about the go-to-market. So now my final question.
Adding that, so I mean, I think that another thing is, so when you send the materials, make sure they're readable, that I can understand from the presentation or from the one-pager what you do. Don't send me this 100-page business plan that nobody's going to read. So
that's perfect, because that's exactly what I wanted to ask. So the VCs, they want to get this information, and you want to make sure that it's succinct, that it's expressly focused and not too much. But on the other hand, you rely so much on what the entrepreneurs present to you, but you only give them 6 slides or 5 slides to present it in. So where do you suggest the companies really focus their efforts in terms of the messaging, what they send you before and what they present to you at the meeting? The team, perhaps, how they got together, what makes them special, or their go-to-market strategy and the business side of it more?
I think it's different for each company, each area. I think that it's sometimes he's talking about the team, sometimes, and I think that obviously we tend to speak too much about technology, too little about the go-to-market. So I mean, make sure this comes to it's the same thing. I mean, on my case, I usually try to get the full story. I set an hour and a half usually. If I don't feel it's enough, I'm gonna waste the time or my time of getting to understand. I'm not gonna say no before I understand it. So I mean, I'm gonna give a fair chance. It's not that I wouldn't spend too much time, optimizing that, because each investor, I'm sure Ed and me read different presentations, right? So it's maybe he reads the 100-page. So
I don't read the 100-page.
But you do look up the company.
Yeah, 2 things.
Can I get them?
2 things about that. So before I go into a meeting, I generally will know already which people I'm networked with between them, and I will already have asked my friends or my network about the meeting, just to make sure the meeting actually is valuable on both sides. And more than that, I'll probably have already done some basic due diligence on the company just to make sure that if we need, we can advance very quickly. The best entrepreneurs actually manage to have people ping us before they go into a meeting saying, hey, you really should be taking these guys seriously. So that's as a tip. If you see we have mutual friends, and you feel good that they'll say positive things about you.
That's an important point.
Yeah, have them do that. It will allow us to move faster. Yevo, we closed within 3 days, right? So that's one example. Windward took 3 weeks. One other thing is most Israeli companies fail in go-to-market distribution. Most companies worldwide, and especially Israel, fail on that. So in meetings, that generally would be an area I focus my time on.
Great. So just to summarize some of the key points. So the VCs are accessible. Never mind what they write on the website. Maybe we'll see more categories of what we don't invest in. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget your product positioning, your go-to-market strategy. Make sure you tell a good story, but make it quick and make it stick about what makes you different. And it turns out some VCs do more intelligence gathering about you than the others, but make sure you get some people to recommend you.
Wait until he has like 12 companies.
Exactly. So I guess it's a matter of size, and of course,
I'm still on 7 boards. I'm still on 7 boards.
If you're on a smaller VC, then you can do that, and maybe the larger ones don't. But I think if there's one good tip here is that if you know a guy that knows a guy, if you know someone that knows the person you're going to meet, and you feel confident they're going to say good things about you, you can put that into play, and it will be appreciated by the VC side. All right, with that positive note, I think we're out of time, and we'll head out to the networking break. Okay, no? Closing words, I'm sorry. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Ofer.